everyone. Good morning and welcome to another conversation at Caregivers Sathi. We are celebrating 3 years, and today we have with us Mrs. Ashu Kumud Issar, whom we lovingly call Kumud Auntie. She is the director and co-founder of Caregivers Sathi, and today we are going to catch her live with some beautiful things that she has to say on facilitating support groups and many other things. So let's begin. Kumud Auntie, would you like to talk a little bit about yourself?
It's very difficult to talk about oneself in first place, and then especially a person like me who we cannot stick to one kind of way of life. So if you ask me, I have been if career wise I have been a school teacher, but then in between only I got interested in journalism, though I am a science student and I used to teach science to middle classes. I started taking interest in the school publication, and then later, to give it a professional touch, I did journalism. Then, after some time, I diversified to behavioral science, and I am a professional member of Indian Society of Applied Behavioral Science. And recently, I have completed iGold, which is Gestalt Organization and Leadership Development Program. It's an international program. So you can say in one word, if you ask me, who am I am a learner.
True. So many accomplishments, so many things you've accomplished in this life. It's really commendable, I must say. Also, I would say that Caregiver Sati is another baby of yours. So, and we have completed 3 years. It has been a journey of both ups and downs and so many things. How do you feel? It's 3 years already.
Yeah, I feel very proud, and at the same time, you can say that sometimes I'm the worst critic also, and I'm observing it. It's almost like plowing a barren land. When Bhavna came up with this idea, of course, I was very pleased because this is what was in my mind. But at that time, I didn't have the competence, or you can say emotionally, I was not ready, and I was too much into it. And so when she took it up, I was very happy, and especially because she dedicated it to me. And uh, and I also, not only because she dedicated to me, I feel that this area has been totally neglected. The social script is seva, and you how you have to be devoted, and it's kind of style statement about devotion and love and all that, and it is almost dehumanizing the caregiver.
Yeah.
So I feel very passionately about this concept.
Right, right. I remember people saying that, we do not realize that we are caregivers actually. When you say this term, that we realize, oh, yes, we are caregivers to certain people. So
In
it is
fact,
kind of,
interestingly, I will just add, till very late, Bhavna didn't realize that she has been a caregiver and a caregiver sathi as well.
right, right. Yeah, so true, so true. Yeah, I mean, people say take it as responsibility, but then there is another life also. Yeah, recognizing this is was very important. Right, you are. I would like to, start today with a little bit of flashback. So, as you know, Gentle Warriors is a very important part of our caregiver Sati. We have completed a full season for 2 years. We've been hosting this conversation. You were one of the very early guests at this conversation. How or what was the feeling when Bhavna first asked you to narrate your journey at Warriors?
It was very painful. I was very hesitant, even resistant. But because it was Bhavna's project, and she also is very persuasive, so she made me do it. And first time it was very painful for me. Second time, and also I was, the whole narration was quite patchy. But then I think over a period of time, not only I was able to really revisit that journey, this also helped to heal. Because it's something like you have a wound and if you keep covering it, तो कहते हैं ना नासूर बन जाता है. Then it reaches a situation where it's like gangrene. You just have to cut it off. But if you are able to deal with it, then
Yeah.
it also heals. So, from that angle, it is very important for people who have gone through this kind of experience to revisit. Initially, it will be painful, but slowly you will be able to do it. That's what happened in my case.
Right, right, right. I get it. Um, Looking back at your caregiving journey, do you feel that grief is difficult to process, or even if it is so, what what is your opinion? What should a person facing loss should do?
See, there is no mantra or there is no kind of a process by which you can do it. Different people have different ways of processing it, but processing is difficult. You can say there are two ends of the continuum, and one is that one is just in denial, which I was, and copes with the loss by making oneself numb. There are people who will not talk about it for a very, very long time. My son never wanted to talk about Papa for a very long time. Or the other extreme is that you are so emotional and so overcome by the grief that you are not able to bounce back only. And also, what I personally experienced was that there was a lot of social glorification of being totally, in grief, especially for women at the time of loss of their husband. The concept of sati and she was so much in love and all that. That's what I had to face. And because I was composed even on the day I lost him, there was a kind of little labeling and a little gossip also around that. And then it came to my mind that what is it? Is it only glorification if you are so grieved that you also die along with the person? And also thanks to one of my very good personal friend who told me that now live for yourself, take charge of your life. See, I'm not saying that had he not done it, I would not have done it. I would have done it in any case. But sometimes a trigger is important. A little nudge is important.
Right. Yeah, so true, so true. I just love listening when you say such nice things. Yes, it is so true that that push sometimes is required to bounce back into life. True. We had a conversation this Tuesday on support groups, importance of support groups, and I am pretty sure you will agree to the fact that when a person is navigating chronic or terminal illness, support group is that safe space. I would like to know your opinion on that.
Totally and absolutely. Because I really wish when I was navigating, there was a sport group like this. Because we people, there is a hierarchy even in our feelings. Anybody feeling angry or frustrated or though tired or fatigue is not a feeling, but even that situation, we tend to evaluate it. And
Right.
that is why I say we dehumanize the caregiver. And it's very difficult for a caregiver to say, look, I am now exhausted. I need help. I need support. So
True.
that is why to kind of legitimize these feelings, to be able to have a audience which knows what is listening. Because generally speaking, when people are sharing their thing, we just want to diffuse the situation. So we start advising, start prescribing, and actually we never listen.
True.
And sometimes what the other person wants is only someone to listen and do nothing about it. or maybe one step even ahead. You want somebody to just hold your hand and be there, and none of you need to speak anything. I had a friend, I remember. I was very, very upset, and I just told him that, okay, can you hold the phone for some time for me? And there was total silence between us. And I really cherished that moment, that experience.
Yeah. So wonderfully said. Yeah. Right. So, uh, you have been a facilitator in support groups held at Caregiver Sathi, uh, and I believe being a facilitator in a support group requires a lot of emotional involvement too, since people will be sharing their story, and the natural tendency is to, okay, as you said, poor girl, she's facing such a problem. So कुछ इमोशनल इन्वॉल्वमेंट तो रह ही जाता है. What are the ideal qualities that a facilitator should have to host support groups?
See, it's not like you can prepare a biodata for a thing
Right.
like this.
Huh.
There are some people who have innate qualities. They are good listeners or they can empathize easily. But I personally believe that it is an art and a science. And one can acquire, learn these skills.
Hmm.
And one cannot, there's no this thing that you read this book or you read this or somebody lectures you and you can do it. There is only one way to it, or rather, you can say there are three ways to it: practice, practice, and practice. So, as you will move ahead, you will make mistakes, which is fine. Sometimes you will lose patience, or you will be, kind of stuck on your agenda. But through, practice, you will understand that whereas there has to be a certain structure, there is also something that emerges. So your ability to deal with emergent and your ability to be fluid,
Hmm.
that is very important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like water, you have to find your way. But though we do believe, because I have chemistry and bio background, I'm giving this example. We do say that fluids or gases can, move anywhere. It's not true. They also move from certain concentration to another concentration. But yes, they are fluid. That is why they are called fluids. So they are dynamic. A
That.
facilitator also has to be dynamic. Most
Correct.
important.
Right. 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 Yes, sure. So that was wonderful. So we will be announcing support group facilitation training in the coming months, and you are our master trainer, having anchored so many meetings and support groups at Caregiver Sathi itself. Tell us something about this program that we're going to launch soon.
See, when first time Bhavna asked me, so I said, okay, let me work on it. And my belief is that the best teacher in the universe is your own life.
So well said.
So
Yes.
learning life through your own life. Like they say, even in Hanuman Chalisa, there is a reference that when Hanumanji had to cross the sea, he didn't have the, at that time, the courage to do so. And then he was reminded of his competency.
Hmm.
So you see, it is only from when somebody says that, look, I did this. So why can't you do? I mean, this is like giving your specs to another person. I can see through these specs, why can't you? Each one has their own unique way of dealing with situations, and they will do it in their fashion. So it is only their own reference to their own life that they can learn. So this program is learning from your own life, and there are, you can say, three elements to it: the self care, empathy, and resilience. So the
Yes.
structure is around these things, of course, depending upon the emergent.
Right, right. You've given a beautiful name to this training, Love and Loss Skill Building Lab. What was your thought behind this training? Why did you want to do this training?
See, why did I want to do it is probably, I mean, today if I say it will be a very sweeping statement. Because said before, that I was in total denial. And it almost took me 1 year before I could even shed a single possible tear without any, catalyzing of it. And later I realized that was one reason that healing took so long. And interestingly, in our social customs, there is an innate way of transitioning to normal life. Even if you see this, that when there is death, then for few days, food is not cooked at home, and then you start cooking, and then you invite the community for a bhoj. So these are steps of coming back to this thing. Second thing that I realized was that in my first year, I was so much impacted that I would start doing something. I was so restless on every other day, like whether it was my husband's death day or his birthday or Karwa Chauth or anything. But if we go by our social customs, there is the provision of Shraddh, which is once a year. So you do remember your people you have lost, but it's not that the whole year you are doing this only. So I read a book on grieving and I realized, oh my God, we have already have it in our way.
Right.
So some of my mother's-in-law's sisters and also my mother-in-law would say, now it's a festival, they will come to cry. And I used to get so annoyed. Why will they come to cry in my house? But now I realize that is just a way to sport that today is the day when you may be a little restless and you may be wanting a sport. But of course, people should know how to offer sport. Usually, the sport is not offered like a sport. So
True.
that is why, it is important for us. Today, we are much more aware. And there has been some research also around grieving and loss. One of my very close friends has just written a very beautiful book on grieving. And so I feel that I have a tendency to learn from my life itself. So if I look at my life also, immediately after 4 or 5 months, I diversified to behavioral science and I started learning and reinventing myself. And also, because I could not really share with anyone what was happening to me, my catharsis came through my poetry. And I wrote things that what was actually happening to me. So many times later, somebody, my one of another friend told me, do you realize you have sublimated your emotions?
Right, right. What a nice term. Yes, sublimation.
And in Gestalt, I learned this expression: working for self and working for the whole.
Yeah, yeah.
So self care is important, not because otherwise, how will you look after the system? No, for your own self. Loving yourself or including yourself in the love that you shower on everybody is very important.
Yeah.
So the expressions like अभी तुम्हें बच्चों के लिए जीना है अभी तो no अपने लिए जीना है. And resilience is a natural phenomenon. It's nothing like anything grand or intellectual. You look at the plants, their leaves fall off, they are defoliated, they are standing nude for some time, and then slowly small little very tender leaves start coming in rainy season, or when जैसे कहते हैं ना बहार आती है
Hmm.
तो वो फिर अंकुरित हो जाता है. That is what is resilience.
Right, right. Um, I would like to know personally, since I am handling the learning programs, I'm a program coordinator for the learning programs at Caregivers Sathi, and I have also been a participant in support groups facilitated by you. If you could, describe a little more of the elements that you've planned in this course, then that would be really helpful for me too.
So
So,
you see, mainly I can put it at three or four elements rather. So first is self-care, because the very fact that you are coming to sport group is a self-care initiative.
absolutely.
And without feeling guilty that you are doing something for yourself, you have to move ahead. And then another very important element is empathy. And empathy is not possible without listening. So I will also put listening as one of the elements. And I am still quite a learner in listening. Initially, when I was given this feedback that you don't listen, and of course, this is a professional hazard, teachers get used to speaking. Then, I said, okay, I will not speak. But not speaking is also not listening.
True.
I realized that I was just waiting for my turn. Or next step was I was preparing the script for my turn, but I was not listening. So, deep listening is listening with body, mind, and soul. Only then you can feel the feelings of the other person. And you must have seen that many times what happens is that when you share with somebody, then immediately they start giving you advice or giving you some gyan or and all that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the reason I realized was that they are not able to deal with their own emotions, their own anxiety for that person, especially if that person is a loved one. So
Right.
so actually what you are doing is you are attaching yourself with your own feelings rather than the other person's feelings. It's a seesaw.
Yeah.
So you have to be at an equilibrium of your feelings and the other person's feelings. You of course have to be aware of your feelings. You should be, when they say no, you observe something. It's more important to observe yourself. Okay, now what is happening to me? So empathy doesn't mean that you become so emotionally affected that you feel helpless and powerless and you are not able to take action. Nor does it mean that it has to be only cognitive empathy. Okay, very sad, so many people have died. But what are you doing? So empathy or listening and all that, these things cannot be learned intellectually. So the facilitator has to use oneself as a tool to demonstrate.
Right. So, self care, empathy, and resilience, are these the three elements that you
You
will
can
be?
say that, but I would also like to include listening.
Right, right. Yes, it's so important. I totally agree with you.
And
And,
listening
and
to not just verbal language,
yes,
non-verbal cues as well.
yes, yes. I remember attending your one of the healing circles, and I remember how well actually listened and reflected back on our emotions. So yes, that was a wonderful experience I had personally. I'd also ask you, this is out of curiosity that I'm asking, that I remember when we used to train under you, you were, you put emphasis on centering exercises.
Yeah.
And why do you think it is necessary in facilitating support groups?
See, the thing is, one is that one is always preoccupied with so many things. and we are not totally at one particular place. Our mind is somewhere else, and oh my God, I have to still prepare lunch, and my office time is there, and things like that. So, by centering exercise, you are able to focus on yourself in here and now. And it's also kind of unwinding from the previous experience. So, it is very important to, kind of focus on yourself and be aware of your own feelings and thoughts. That is why centering exercise is actually important both in the beginning as well as at the end. Because with those heightened emotions, we can't go back to life,
Right.
to our daily chores. So, if there is a little of centering exercise, it's also kind of transitioning that I talked about for grieving.
Right.
Grieving is also heightened emotions, and this revisiting your journey or sharing yourself is also a very heightened emotional experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. I cannot let you go without. I know that you're so good at shairi, and since we're talking about emotions, empathy, grieving, so many facilitating support groups, I cannot let you go without shairi. So,
I would also not like to lose the chance. I'm so fond of writing and reciting poetry.
right.
So I'm very fond of one of my couplets, which is actually part of a full poem, or nazm as it is called in Hindustani or Urdu. And that is, that is on sublimation. मोहब्बत जो किसी अपने के लिए बने रुमानी है. इट्स रोमांटिक. मोहब्बत जो किसी अपने के लिए बने रुमानी है, और मोहब्बत जो रूह से निकले कायनात में बिखरे, वो है इश्क जो रूहानी है. So the spiritual experience is from self to the universe.
Yes. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving your time, explaining about this program. I'd just like to mention once for all the viewers who are watching this and who are going to catch it up later. Uh, Anybody who would like to be a facilitator in a support group can register for this training. We at Caregivers Sathi are pleased to announce this first cohort of masterclass on support group facilitation. It will be a total of 4 sessions, 2 hours each, and maximum number of participants for each cohort would be 8. The first session starts February end. So stay tuned for more information on this regarding this. And if you would like to know more, please write to us at info@caregiversathi.co.in, and we would be happy to get back to you. So thank you, Kumudanti, for this precious time and beautiful words. We hope to see you soon again. And yeah, with that, we
Actually, I
end.
need to also thank you because I believe in spontaneity. So I had not really thought of many things that I was able to share today.
It's always a pleasure to hear you. Thank you. And yeah,
Thank you
see
so
you
much.
soon.
Thank you.